Welcome back, guys. Thanks for stopping by to watch another video here at All I See is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance. Today, I'd like to create this video to share with you five top Bitcoin miners that have the potential to make significant bull runs. We'll go through the overall technical and fundamental analysis, especially with the rise in the price of Bitcoin, as well as just with mining companies having different strategies tapping into the HPC AI sector. We'll look at these individual Bitcoin mining companies and look at their business model to see what are their strategies. Of course, around the mining industry, we've heard a number of companies taking on convertible notes. Now, what are companies doing with those convertible notes? Is it to increase their HODL or is it to buy back shares? What's their strategy? And does this benefit miners to tap into new platforms for service revenue? We'll look at all of that, and I'll give you my assessment on the price targets as well as why I believe these are the top five Bitcoin mining companies. Now, if you're new to this channel, please make sure to smash a like and subscribe for more related content. We'll first start off looking at the overall technicals here. So, we're actually looking at a 1 year chart here. As you can see, just looking at the five companies I have highlighted here is you notice here in this red here, we have HUT 8, we have BitDeer in green. I mean, BitDeer has gone up by about 222%. We're looking at a 1 year chart with HUT 8 at 205%. Mara here is another workhorse. However, it's only up 35% throughout the year with CleanSpark in purple here at 17%. And Riot represented in red, it's at minus 14% through the year. Now, these companies have different strategies. What you see here in purple and red, I think a lot of what this has been attributed to is just the market sentiment going on right now in HPC AI. We'll dive deeper into why BitDeer and Hut 8 have been the workhorses, at least in the year 2024, just with the recent months. It's been just so bullish. And it's not really because of their overall HODL of Bitcoin strategy, but it's these companies tapping into the revenue-based service, having cloud platforms with their AI infrastructure, as well as, for example, BitDeer tapping into the mining space by actually making products so that other companies can mine. So they have like the miner seal, for example, but just bullish moves here. And of course, there's territory differences as well. As we look at CleanSpark, Mara, and Riot, I mean, when you think about it, these companies here are like the top three HODLs when it comes to the strategic Bitcoin reserve here. So, for example, you look at Mara, they're like the number one in terms of the mining capacity, monthly production rate, as well as having the most amount of Bitcoin. But why do we see Mara's performance at the low here when you see other companies like Hut 8, BitDeer at the high point, including MSTR? I think that it's just been lagging behind, and that's why I believe that there's just going to be that market sentiment shift, especially when Bitcoin price goes up. I think that these three players, especially with the HODL strategy, these three companies are going to really benefit, and that's why I have, CleanSpark, Mara, and Riot as the in the top five category just based on their strategy. But let's look at just the overall sentiment here. The question is, will BitDeer and HUD-A continue to go up? There's potential that it can go up, especially just with news, for example, with HUD 8 possibly working with Meta on their AI platform. That's been a lot of speculation going on. And just recently, they've been just bull running with the price. BitDeer, they took like $1 billion convertible note just to potentially rebuy back shares and implement additional strategies to expand their business model. And you see convertible notes with Mara and Riot, they acquired more Bitcoin and now they're like the leading miners holding on to the Bitcoin reserve, while CleanSpark has a different strategy, buy back shares, uh, pay off their line of credit with Coinbase, and that's really going to entice their investors. And I think just with the recent markets that we've seen overall with the miners, it's been lagging behind, although we see BitDeer and Hut 8 at the top performers here. Now let's go more and look at the fundamentals here. So we're looking at Mara. As we know, Mara has been around for years now, and they have an extremely high energized compute power. Just recently, they announced that they achieved that milestone of 50 exahash. So they've already reached that target goal, not even towards the end of the year yet. So I'm thinking they can go beyond that 50 range, maybe 52, 53 by end of December. Overall, just with their fleet energy efficiency as of September. Of course, that would change here, but 22.7 joules of terahash, not necessarily the best mining efficiency when you compare that to like CleanSpark or Iron. But I think overall, just with their market cap, I think at one point they got close to about 10,000 in market cap or 10 billion market cap, with now a HODL of like over 40,000 Bitcoins on their reserve. So they took two loans, convertible notes, and they acquired more Bitcoin, increasing their yield with Bitcoin and just reaching that milestone achievement in the last month's production numbers in November. They were able to mine over 900 Bitcoins. So Mara's strategy is that they are a vertically integrated technology company where they focus on software, hardware, and infrastructure. We'll see where all of their location areas are, but just with their Bitcoin treasury, this number 26,000, it's an old number, but it's gone up by even close to like double. I mean, we saw that this information was September data, but now where we are, December, it's over 40,000 for their HODL number, and their overall hash rate has gone up, it reaching this target here already. So can you imagine how 2025 will look? They do have new miner fleets that's readily available to install. And I think just because they have multiple sites, like more than a dozen sites all around four continents, you see here, USA, UAE, Paraguay, Finland. I think that's really going to benefit them. Mara also just acquired another site in Texas to tap into that renewable solar energy windmill, and that's really going to help them expand their portfolio. Just Mara is the leading company, and just with the current price, I think now is definitely an undervalued amount based on their current price at like $22. But I think there's so much potential with Mara, given the fact that they have that high HODL and they're mining at high capacity, even though currently they're a pure miner play. So that's a different strategy than other companies that we'll talk about. Next company that I wanted to talk about that is in the top five Bitcoin mining company is CleanSpark. We've heard a lot of news going on with CleanSpark recently. In fact, CleanSpark, the share price, it did very well in the early months of 2024. However, just with the recent months, even though rise in Bitcoin price, we're not seeing that positive correlation with CleanSpark. But just looking at CleanSpark from a technicals analysis, I think that the price is oversold. There's been a lot of hedge market makers are manipulating the share price where it currently stands at like high 11, $12. I think that there's easy potential for this to start bull running with its share price. But overall, why I like CleanSpark is that they're an efficient Bitcoin mining company. I mean, their overall efficiency at 19 joules of terahash with their 21 S Pros fleets, immersion cooling technology, that really sets them apart from other miners. And that's why we see that their monthly production, they're at number two when it comes to monthly production overall with their deployed fleet, close to 200,000 deployed fleet, and their HODL here, they're ranked number three here at like close to getting close to 10,000 of Bitcoin's hold. Now, with the convertible note that they just announced, they're going to use that, pay off their line of credit with Coinbase, buy back shares, try to prevent dilution, and then use the additional money for potential acquisition that's to come. So their cost to mine is low, and they're just going to continue mining Bitcoin at a fixed cost and capitalize on that profit margin based on the difference between the cost and the revenue based on where Bitcoin price is. But I think as the price of Bitcoin goes up, companies like CleanSpark, including the other HODL companies, will benefit significantly. And that's why CleanSpark is a company not to ignore, even though the price we see has been just um, going down. Next company I wanted to share is just Riot Platforms. We heard so much news just recently over the last few days of trading. Volume has picked up significantly. We've seen historical uh, trading activity going on with Riot, but just overall looking at Riot's November production data about close to 2 weeks ago is their Bitcoin mine produced. So October they mined about 505 Bitcoins. 495 was November's data. So they're increasing their overall Bitcoins produced per day, getting close to about 17 Bitcoins. And that's to keep in mind that they haven't fully deployed the site Corsicana. That's a 1 gigawatt facility that they haven't implemented in full yet. So there's going to be so much more to come with implementing more miner fleets, getting that hash rate up at the Corsicana site, not even including the Rockdale facility where there's going to be a swap out of miner fleets to really improve the hash rate, along with fully optimizing their Kentucky site to get that hash rate going. So you see here at 1.8 exahash, I think that's going to also increase as well, which will overall improve their hash rate target towards the end of the year and heading into 2025. So looking very exciting, but I think overall Corsicana here, there's just so much room for potential, as well as, just with Riot increasing their Bitcoin HODL number. So here at the end of November, 11,425, but now we just heard that they have close to like 17,000 Bitcoins on their balance sheet. And that came from the convertible note, that $500 million convertible note where they acquired more Bitcoin, added it to their balance sheet. So following that HODL approach, similar to Mara and MSTR, and I think with Riot creating that disparity with HODL numbers, as well as having that consistent mining produced per month, that's really going to separate Riot from the other companies. On top of just recently having Starboard um, buy into Riot, taking a big count in terms of purchasing shares for Riot. And what does that mean? I think Starboard is trying to push Riot into the direction of potentially getting into HPC AI, leveraging Corsicana site to implement a strategy to get that service revenue from HPC AI. So I think there's going to be a lot of exciting news coming out from Riot here, especially given that they are a miner company, currently a pure miner company, along with engineering services, but also tapping into HPC AI, similar to what BitDeer and Hut 8 is doing. I think Riot is going to benefit from that because there's so much sentiment going on right now, especially with HPC AI. We hear C3 AI partnering up with Microsoft, and we're hearing Hut 8 potentially partnering up with Meta on their AI platform. Who knows if like Riot will partner up with like Nvidia or like Tesla to tap into that AI service potential. That's going to be huge. But I think overall, with the share price that we saw earlier, currently at like the 12, $13 range, we know that it ran up at one point to like $80, even though it was at $5 at the time 4 years ago. So there's that potential there, but I definitely think with the market sentiment and the technicals, there's so much room for growth, especially for these companies like Riot, CleanSpark, and Mara. Let's take a look at the workhorse here at BitDeer. So just going through BitDeer's overall announcement in November. So With their Seal Miner A2 mass production through Q3 of 2025, they're anticipating a 35 exahash business strategy. And what's very bolstered about their business model is a 1.1 gigawatt of new power capacity on track to come online in 2025. And I think that's what's really getting investors attracted is because of the facilities that they have with the gigawatt capacity. That's what investors want to hear right now. Who are the biggest facilities that have that ability to turn on power technology? Now, they closed a 400 million convertible senior notes to accelerate the Seal miner development and production. So when you think about it, I mean, without BitDeer, then how are companies really going to improve their fleet efficiency if they're looking at the Seal miner technology? So BitDeer, I mean, they're a world leading technology company for blockchain, HPC, and just based on location, they're based out in, different location, not like in what we see like in the United States, although they do have sites in the US as well, but they're also headquartered in Singapore as well. Here, when you look at their overall mining capacity, they self-mined 150 Bitcoins here. So a little bit different when you look at the pure miner plays, but they also have a HPC AI platform here where they have, partnerships going on with potential end users. BitDeer AI Cloud Services, I mean, they're working with deploying NVIDIA H200 in the company's tier 3 data center. With all of the different data centers that they're having, they're partnering up, buying NVIDIA devices and implementing that in their data centers. So they're expanding their AI cloud service in the US, in Europe, now currently with their services hosted in Singapore, Canada, US, and Holland. Overall, client-hosted machines, it's increased to 11,000 units. So that just shows their overall bolstered business strategy, along with the infrastructure that they have all around the different locations, like in Norway and in Texas, and even international sites with the potential of megawatt growth, especially with their strategy to make it a transformative year in 2025. I mean, especially with their Seal Miner launch, there's been just so much demand for those units from customers, and I think that their Seal Miner is a top-notch, high-quality product that customers are really attracted to, and that's really why we see the share price going up with BitDeer. So congratulations to the holders and believers of BitDeer. Let's talk about HUD 8. So HUD 8 has a similar business model when you compare that to BitDeer, but they're a team building on technology, especially for innovating and operating computing infrastructure across, the United States on top of mining Bitcoin and delivering cloud-based high performance computing service to customers. And I think that's where we're headed, right? AI, Bitcoin, and they have sites all around the US, primarily headquartered in Florida, and just being a vertically integrated operator with the large scale energy infrastructure, one of the largest North American Bitcoin miners. I think this is why companies like Meta is on the back end potentially working with HUD 8, and I think that's what caused the rise in the price of HUD 8. And they're a leader in hodling self-mined Bitcoin, and they're the first Canadian mining company on the Nasdaq with the proven track record. We've seen that on their overall share price. But just looking at the financials here, their third quarter 2024 results, just to give you more context on how they're doing. But just looking at their revenue, you see huge increase here. Total energy capacity here, 1.1322 megawatts. What's in development is 205 megawatts, but you see here 1,500 megawatt in the pipeline assets under exclusivity. So that just shows that that 2025 strategy is really going to attract investors here. Just looking at their overall business model here is like their Bitmain partnership here. I mean, their projected hash rate of like 15 exahash and GPU as a service with AI here, having over 1,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs delivered and generating revenue, service-based revenue, not necessarily focused on that Bitcoin mining strategy, but you see here, HPC is what they're primarily focused on here. Overall, I think with the comparison when we look at Q2 through Q3, increasing their gigawatt capacity for energy capacity. And the number is just going to increase, and that's really going to allow for them to implement on their pipeline strategy into 2025. So you see here their construction at Vega, lots of energy infrastructure going on here, but looking at their 2025 target goal, increasing their self-mining operation as well with the pro forma hash rate and improving their energy costs from a quarter to quarter perspective with about 31,000 Bitmain S21 miners to be purchased. So there you have it. I just wanted to give you overall perspective on the top five Bitcoin miners that I think have the potential to grow significantly just in the remaining 2 weeks of December, as well as in 2025. I definitely think that these companies have that significant potential to just 3x, 5x, even more, especially with just the demand market sentiment going on with Bitcoin and AI-based companies right now. So if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, leave your comments down below.